Assalamualaikum everyone. So today we will go through and finish with chapter 10, chapter 9, sorry, chapter 9. Chapter 9 we were looking at traffic data collection in general. So we looked at type of studies, why we do traffic studies, and then we were looking at different types of traffic data collection techniques, and we were looking at manual techniques, and we saw some examples related to issues which you can have with counting, manual counting, as well as speed studies. So for manual counting, you have to incorporate the brakes, and you have to find out the missing data from the brakes. And for speed studies, we have to find out the we have to remove the parallax error. Okay, so you can do it through calculations, and I told you how you can do it in the observation as well. And there was another error, which was the random error because of the manual functioning of the stopwatch, and we said this is random error, so it normally cancels out each other, and it cannot be calculated precisely because it's random. Okay, so now we will move to the other type of studies or other type of technique, which is semi-automated data collection. So automated, whenever we use the word automated, that means the data collection is done by a device. So when you were using manual counting, so you were either writing the number on the paper, you're putting 1111, or you were clicking on or pressing the button of the counter, or if it was a speed study, then you were handling the stopwatch. The observation cannot be completed without you doing these things. But automated means that you place the equipment, detector, sensor on the field, and the equipment will do the job for you. Okay, so you don't have to record the data. The data will be recorded automatically. But why we call them semi-automated? Because of the nature of the instrument. The equipment used in semi-automated studies are portable instruments, portable equipments. So like a speed gun, or the most commonly used portable equipment is a pneumatic road tube. I showed you in one of the previous slides. These are black tubes which are put along the road or across the road. And if you want to see a tube being used, you can go to Sheikh Khalifa bin Salman Highway, and you will see the tubes on both directions of the highway. Okay, before the city center, or if you are coming back from the city center, you will see these tubes across the road. Okay. So portable means something which you can carry, okay, like a laptop or a mobile phone. So you carry these tubes with you, you place them on the road. Once data is collected, you take them back. Okay, this is what means a portable equipment. So your job, why we call them semi-automated, because it's your job to place the equipment before the study and take it out after the study. Before you place it, the data cannot be collected, and until you take it back, you cannot have the data. Okay, so that's why we call them semi-automated, because you are required at some stage. You are not recording the data, but you are required at some stage. The human interaction is required at some stage. The most commonly used, as I said, device is pneumatic road tube, and this device can be used for measuring the speed. But the main function of this device, a pneumatic road tube, is to count the number of axles. Now, what is an axle? I think I explained earlier as well, but I will do it again. You cannot rely on your memories. So we have two tires of the vehicle, and there's a rod which is connecting the two tires. That rod is known as an axle. Okay, so the tire on the left hand side and the right hand side is connected with the rod, which is known as an axle. So whenever an axle crosses over the tube, it counts it. Okay, that this axle crossed on this time. Okay, this is the main function of the tube. Okay, then how the speed can be measured? Normally the distance between the axles is standard, and if you know that distance and you know the time at which each axle has crossed, then you can do distance upon time. right? Because distance is the spacing between the two axles, and the time is the time difference between the crossing of the two axles upon the tube. Okay, so using the axles, you can measure the speed. But how about the number of vehicles? Now remember, our job is to find out number of vehicles, not number of axles. Our job is to find out number of vehicles, not number of axles. So how we can convert the number of vehicles to number of axles? For that, you must know average number of axles per vehicle. Average number of axles per vehicle. How to do that? You have to do a manual study to see the average number of axles with each vehicle. Now you say that we are putting a road tube on the road and then we have to do a manual study as well. This is unfair, right? But keep in mind the manual study is very short term, and it is just to support the count which you are getting from the pneumatic road tube. So it has nothing to do with the sorry, as I said, I keep on getting the see, there's a problem, somebody cannot enter in the lecture, so that's why I have to keep on looking at the messages as well. Because I don't want anybody to miss the class because of me. Okay, so I was talking about the pneumatic road tube. We have to do a normal, a short manual count as well. Now this manual count is just to know on average how many axles the vehicle has. The vehicles which are passing from this point, on average how many axles they have. So this is very short, just to know this number. So you can finish the manual count in 10-15 minutes. But the pneumatic road tube will give you the count for a longer period. Okay, so you will have a data from the whole day, but instead of doing a manual count for the whole day, this will require and it will make you exhausted and it will have a lot of errors and so on and so forth. You do a short count for 10-15 minutes just to know the average number of axles per vehicle, and then you move on and then you rely on the data which is coming from the road tube. Okay, please turn off your mic. Turn off your mic. Okay. So how to use this manual count to find out the average number of axles per vehicle, and then how to convert the data coming from the pneumatic road tube into number of vehicles. Let us look at this example. So you can see here a 24-hour count. So you see normal, I told you in the previous lecture as well, manual studies are short and for very limited time, but this is 24-hour count. Okay, which is done using a road tube, and this count is given as 11,250 actuations. Actuations means number of axles. So each time the axle crosses over the tube or over any sensor, it is actuated, right? Actuated to count, activated to add one in the sensor, to add one in the counter. Okay, so 11,250 axles are recorded in the whole day, and then a representative sample count was done. So see, they are saying sample count, for which the data is shown here in this table. Okay, so you can see what have they observed in these counts. So they have observed the number of axles, the number of vehicles with different number of axles. So they observed 157 vehicles which had 2 axles, 55 vehicles which had 3 axles, 50 vehicles which had 4 axles, 33 vehicles which have 5 axles, and 8 vehicles which have 6 axles. So you see, you have vehicles which are going up to 6 axles. Normally, small trucks and buses and cars have 2 axles, but when you go towards bigger trucks and bigger cars, not bigger cars, bigger trucks, basically bigger trucks, they have 3, 4, 5, 6, and even 10 and 20 axles are there as well. Okay, if you go to your highway engineering textbook, you will see a whole table in which the different axle configurations are given. Okay, so you can see the whole range there. So if I assume that every if I have 11,250 actuations, 11,250 axles, So just divide it by 2 and get the number of vehicles. You can see how wrong I will be, because I will be ignoring all these vehicles which are having 3, 4, 5, and 6 axles. Okay, and they are a lot. They are more than 100, right? Out of maybe 300, they are more than 100. Okay, so you will be ignoring like 33% of the data, which will be wrong. Okay, so that's why we need the number of axles per vehicle. You cannot assume 2 axles per vehicle, because that means you are only assuming cars or smaller trucks or buses. Okay. Now, how to find out the number of axles per vehicle? First of all, we'll find out total number of axles observed. Now, note my words. I'm saying total number of axles observed, and then total number of vehicles observed. Okay, so number of axles per vehicle will be number of axles observed upon number of vehicles observed. Number of axles observed upon number of vehicles observed. How to get the number of axles observed? You will say take this column, right? And some of you would do that even after I explain it to you. Okay, and I keep on repeating, life is not so simple, but you keep on doing these simple things. Okay, don't take the summation of this column. This is just the range of axles. I have a car with 2 axle, with 3 axle, with 4 axle, with 5 axle, with 6 axle, but I did not observe one car from each category. I observed more than one. Okay, so I have to multiply the number of axles with the number of times I observed a car or a vehicle with those axles. So I observed 2 axles 157 times. I observed 3 axles 55 times. I observed 4 axles 50 times, and so on. Okay, so number of axles we multiply with the respective number of vehicles to get the total number of axles observed. Okay, so let us do that. Number of axles will be 157 twice. Oh, sorry, 2 axles 157 times, right? Plus 3 axles 55 times, plus 4 axles 50 times, 5 axles 33 times, plus 6 axles. Give me the number of axles. So give me total number of axles. $742, sure. 892, yes, 892. So in your survey period, you observed 892 axles, and how many vehicles you observed? The summation of this column, right? This is because this is actually giving the number of vehicles observed. Okay, so I want observed, so I will just add these numbers. Okay, so number of vehicles will be 157 plus 55 plus 50 plus 33 plus 8. So how many vehicles we have? 303. Now I want number of axles per vehicle. Number of axles per vehicle. So it will be 892, which is number of axles, upon 303, which is number of vehicles. So how many axles per vehicle we have? 2.94. Okay, so 2.94 I think is the correct one. Okay, so we have 11,250 number of axles in one day, and 2.94 axles per vehicle. Obviously 2.94 cannot be exactly in one vehicle, but on average for all the mix of vehicles we have 2.9 axles per vehicle. So if I want number of vehicles, then I will do 11,250 number of axles recorded divided by 2.94 number of axles per vehicle. This will give you a number of vehicles. So how much is it?
J No.
3826. Okay, as I told you earlier, counts are not in fractions. Counts are not represented in fractions. So you can take 3826 or 3827, plus minus 1 doesn't matter, but counts are not given as fractions. Okay, so 3826 or 3827, select your value. Okay, doesn't matter, but it's number of vehicles, so it cannot be in fractions. Okay, clear? But this is the correct approach. I hope you have no questions about the method of solving it. Okay, now road tube can be used in different ways. For example, you can see 3 different types of setups here. Okay, so the first one, you see one road tube which is going across the whole road in both directions. So this road tube will give you the combined count for both directions. Okay, and this count is normally for daily volumes. I told you daily volumes are taken combined for both directions. So if you want just a daily volume, you can use the road tube, one road tube, which will go from one direction to the next direction across the whole road. It will be one road tube. Okay, so it will give you combined volume for both directions. So it can be daily volume or maybe more than that. If you want different counts for each direction, then put a different road tube in each direction. You can see the second one, the one in the middle. Okay, so yeah, one road tube in this direction, one road tube in this direction, and they will give you 2 different counts. So it can be hourly volume or maybe less than that. Okay, then if you want count for each lane separately, then you can use this sort of a configuration. So you see 3 road tubes because we have 3 lanes. Because we have 3 lanes, so 3 road tubes in the same direction. Okay, so the first one is just counting the number of vehicles in the first lane. Second one is counting the first and the second. Okay, and the third one is counting the number of axles in all the 3 lanes. Okay, and then how will I get the number for each lane? The first one will give me the number for the bottom lane. Okay, the rightmost lane. The second one will give me the middle and the right lane. Then how would I get the number for the middle? You subtract this count from the first one, or you subtract the first count from this the middle count. Okay, so you will only get the count in the second lane. So you have first and second both 500, and only the first lane, the right lane, is only 200. So 500 minus 200 will give you the count for the middle lane, which is 300. And same thing for the third one as well. The third one is giving you all the lanes. So you subtract the first 2 lanes from this one, and you will get the count for the third lane, the left lane. Okay, so as you keep on increasing the number of lanes, you can also keep on increasing the number of tubes. So you can see if you want the count with more details, more specific, in a more specific manner, then you have to keep on increasing the number of road tubes. Okay, so it's like there's a saying in Urdu for that jitna gur dalo itna meetha, meaning that the more sugar you put, the more sweet it will become. So the more road tubes you put on the road, you will get more details for the count. Okay, with 1 you just have total number, with 2 you can have both directions, and with more you can have for each lane as well. Okay, then we move toward automated studies. Automated, so again the data is collected through an instrument, through an equipment. But why we the difference between semi-automated and automated is the type of equipment. These equipments are permanent detectors. So you install them permanently on the road. They are not portable. You have to install them, fix them on the road. Okay, either on the side or either below the surface, but you have to fix them. Okay, and this is the main difference. So you call them detectors or sensors or equipment, whatever, but they are fixed. So these detectors provide a very wide range of data. Okay, so they are not for single use. As you keep on moving ahead with the technology of the detector or the sensor, the number of things you can know about the traffic also keeps on increasing. So a simple detector may give you only traffic count, which can be a portable detector, or like a speed gun, which gives you only speed. But if you use an advanced detector, you may have to fix it and install it. It can give you volume, speed, and spacing, and headway, and so on. Okay, so the permanent detectors are normally of advanced level, high tech, and they give you more data. Okay, so you can have one detector which is giving you number of items about traffic. And these detectors have some, because they are permanently installed, so the data is collected, either transmitted real time to other devices like traffic signal. So I told you earlier as well, we have sensors which are attached with the signals. So these sensors provide the real-time data to the signals, and the signal timings are changed or programmed to change according to that. Okay. So obviously signal timing means real-time data, right? You cannot take like 2-3 hours to calculate the new timing for the signal and then implement it. After 2-3 hours, the traffic has completely changed. So you need real-time data for that. Or you can transfer the data to a traffic control center. So for example, we have General Directorate of Traffic in Bahrain. They may have a traffic control center which is getting the data from all the detectors for them to monitor the traffic. Okay, so the even with with the security systems we have, and the traffic cameras we have, the data is transmitted real time. Okay, so once you get fined, or if you had a security camera in your house or for your vehicle or something like that, you can access that camera through your IP address, okay, or through the app which is provided with the camera or so on. Okay, so these things are there, okay, they are already operational. But the point is, permanent detectors can give you real-time data, and they can be transmitted. The data can be transmitted directly. If you want detailed information about traffic detectors, then we have this handbook which is available online. I think it's free. Okay, so this book is about detectors, sensors, okay, equipments for traffic data collection. Okay, so you can go and have a look, okay, about the technology which is used. Okay, I will just try to give you a brief introduction about the different types of detectors in these in this slide, but this is not in detail because this is not my area of expertise, nor it is your area of expertise as a civil engineer. As a civil engineer, we are more into roads and management and so on. Okay, not about how to develop the detector. Okay, so you can go and look in your textbook, or you can go and read this traffic handbook, the detector handbook. Okay, so we have sound detectors which can detect the sound which is produced by the movement of the vehicle, and they can detect the vehicle and the type of vehicle and the speed of the vehicle using that. We have opacity detectors, which are basically image softwares or image detection equipment like a camera. Okay, so you can have a simple image or a video or an infrared image. Okay, I was just reading that the autonomous vehicles, the automatic vehicles, we have driverless vehicles, Google cars and so on. They use these infrared technology, the LiDAR technology, to detect other vehicles around them. Okay, so this is used inside the vehicle as well. But here we are talking about getting the data of traffic. So you can install something close to a camera on the road, and that camera either will capture the image or a video or an infrared image of the road, and from that image or the video you can extract the movement of vehicles. And I told you earlier as well, we have image processing softwares to do that. Okay, so the software will extract from the video how many vehicles have passed, what type of vehicles have passed, what was their speed, and so on. Okay, so the job is a lot easier. Okay, then we have geomagnetic detectors, okay, which work on the geomagnetic field. So we have a so the detector forms a geomagnetic field around the road, and when a vehicle passes, this field is intercepted, and so whenever this field is intercepted, the detector will count the number of vehicles. Okay, and from the timing, it can also calculate the headway and spacing and other things. Then we have detectors which work on the reflection of any other type of transmitted energy. Okay, so let me show you how it works. This one, geomagnetic. Okay, so the Earth has a geomagnetic field, and when the vehicle passes, this field is disturbed. But these two, this one, reflection of transmitted energy, and electromagnetic induction, these work, or their equipment is similar to each other. What is this? So you have a transmitter on one side of the road, and you have a receiver on the other side of the road. Okay, maybe on the median if you want for one direction, or on the other side of the road if you want to follow both the directions. So whenever a vehicle passes from the road, so the transmitter keeps on transmitting some types of waves or energy towards the receiver, and the receiver will keep on receiving these waves until a vehicle passes it. So whenever a vehicle passes on the road, these waves are intercepted, and the receiver will record how many times the waves are intercepted, so meaning number of vehicles, and for how much time the wave was intercepted, it will give you the speed of the vehicle, and after one wave, after one interception, how much time was taken for the next one. So you can have the headwind spacing as well. Okay. This is common for these two type of detectors. The only difference is the type of radiation which are transmitted. So you can have infrared laser or radar or ultrasonic or microwave radar transmitter in this case, or you can use electromagnetic energy, okay, which is also known as a loop detector, and this is the most commonly used detector in traffic for traffic data collection. Okay, so some of these detectors I told you earlier as well, they are used at the checkpoints and barriers as well. So when you get close to those detectors, the barrier will open, or they will inform the security that a car has come to the barrier and so on. Okay, so these are working on the same principle. Okay, so in your book they have given many more detail about electromagnetic induction detectors, because as I say, it is used very it is the most commonly used detector for traffic data collection. Okay, and then we have detectors which can sense the vibration. Okay, and we have different types of detectors for that. We have inertia switch, we have, which I think deals with the, you know, sensing the vibration from the static position of the earth. Then we have seismic detectors, and we have triboelectric detectors. Again, as I said, this is not our field, this is not my field. Okay, just to give you a brief introduction about the type of detectors we have. Okay, so I'm being very honest with you. Okay, when I say this is not my field, and hopefully I expect this, you will not deal with the technology of the detector, you will deal with the use of the detector. Okay, so vibration detectors are placed under the surface of the earth, surface of the road, and whenever a vehicle passes, it causes some vibration on the surface, and this vibration is detected by the sensor, and based upon the amount of vibration, it can detect the type of vehicle, and it can give you the headwind spacing between one vibration and the other vibration and so on. Okay, so we use vibration detectors for monitoring earthquakes and plate tectonic activity as well, but the difference between those detectors and this one is traffic detectors are very near to the surface. Okay, because vehicles do not cause that much vibration, right? But the detectors which are used for earthquake and plate tectonic monitoring are deep inside the earth. Okay, so that's the difference, but technology is the same. And then we have VIP. What is VIP? I don't mean anybody from the royal family or a celebrity. I mean video image processing. VIP means video image processing. Okay, so now we have advanced cameras. We have advancements in softwares which can process the image or the video coming from the camera, and we have different ways in which you can install the camera. Okay, for example, we have drones, we have these high tripod stands, and like they have given here, you can even put the camera on the arm of a traffic signal as well. They call it the mast arm, so that is basically the arm of the traffic signal. Okay, you know, there's a traffic signal pole, and the signal is beside the pole, extended like an arm. Okay, so you put the camera on the arm. So the good thing is the arm is already high in position, and it is at a good place, so from where the drivers can see the pole, and you can capture the drivers from that side as well. Okay, so use our traffic camera with a signal is very convenient. Okay, and camera is very flexible. Like I showed you, for pneumatic road tube, you have to increase the number of tubes if you want the data with more detail, but with camera it's no big issue. Just change the focus of the camera from one lane to 2 lanes to 3 lanes, and you will have the data for all these lanes. Okay, then this image processing system consists of 3 parts. First part is the camera. Okay. Second part is the microprocessor to store and interpret the image, and third part is the software which can convert the image to traffic data. Now, if you are using a simple camera, by simple camera I mean how can I define it? Because some people are very sensitive about the cameras they have and the cameras in their phone. So you have advanced camera in terms of number of pixels and so on, but it is for general use. You use it for taking selfies as well as taking the traffic data. Okay. So that camera doesn't have any built-in software for traffic data processing, but there are cameras available which have a built-in processor to process the image or the video coming from the camera. Like the traffic cameras we have, everybody knows about traffic camera, right? We fear it, we are scared about them, and we want to know where are they, and we want to get rid of them, right? So those cameras are specific. They are not simple cameras. You cannot put a simple camera and then keep on finding people. Okay. So those cameras, like those cameras, traffic data collection cameras have also built-in capabilities. And one of the capabilities is to process the video simultaneously as it is recorded. So you have the video and you have the values which are taken from the video. And then you put these values or the video in the software, and the software further processes it, and it can give you the outcome which you output file in whichever format you want. Okay. So how do they work? So if you are using a traffic data collection camera, fine, it can make your life easier. It can the calculations and the analysis will be faster. But if you are using a simple camera, even that is also usable. We have used it. Some of my students have used it. I've used it myself in one of traffic study project as well, from the industry. And we use simple cameras, and then we counted the number of vehicles. Okay, we counted them using like manually. So we had a guy sitting in front of the screen, and the video was running, and he was counting. Okay, and then again you have the flexibility. You want to know the speed, you have the timing of the vehicle when it entered this point and when it entered this point. Okay, you can see it from the camera. You can slow it down. You can run it multiple times for recording the camera from different lanes and so on. Okay. How does an image processing software work? The image processing software detects the vehicle as a compressed package of pixels in the video or in the image. Okay, so whenever you see you have the road, and on that road you see a compressed package of pixel on top of the road or moving across the road, and that is detected as a vehicle. Okay, you have to calibrate these cameras. If it is a traffic camera, you have to calibrate them to distinguish between the background road features and the vehicle. Okay, because road features you have barriers and medians and sidewalks and signals and poles and so on. So you have to calibrate the camera so that it does not make or it does not detect a pole as a bicycle maybe. Okay, so you have to put some limits that the vehicle will have these many pixels and the road is these pixels and so on. Okay, and then you have to also do some adjustment for the lighting conditions and the weather conditions as well. So some calibration is required so that the software can detect or distinguish between the features and the vehicle. So the softwares, after you do the calibration, they can give you what type of vehicle has passed, how many vehicles have passed. It can detect the speed and so on. Okay, and can do it for each lane as well. So until now, video image processing is being used on signalized intersections. Okay, I was just recently reviewing a research paper on which they have used cameras installed on drones for signalized intersection, because signalized intersection is normally problematic situation for manual data collection. They have so many directions and so on. We'll talk about it later on as well. So it is used there, but it's not very common right now. But with the amount of advancement happening in this field, the field of the camera and the image processing, it is expected that in near future you will see this technology more commonly in even in Bahrain as well. Okay, we can still see the traffic cameras. Okay, but they are not for data collection. But maybe in near future we will see it for data collection. Okay, so I will stop here. We'll start the next topic tomorrow. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'm going for the attendance. Dua Rabi, did you join? Dua Rabi. Yeah, she's there. Sleeping. Amna Muhammad. Okay. Woken up. Amna Muhammad. Okay. Muhammad Usama. If I mark your attendance, you can leave. Amal Muhammad. Amal Abdullah. Amal Abdullah. Muhammad Noman. Ali Muhammad. Ali Muhammad. Hakima Ali. Zahra Sayyid Ali. Abdullah Jaliluddin. Abdullah Jaliluddin. Abdul Rahman Ibrahim. Nujul Salah. Nadeem Hussam.
Present.
Zahra Riyad. Abu Bakr is here. Zainab Ali. Mariam Abdul Amir. Majd Bashar. Majd Bashar. Asil Hassan. Ali Mustafa. Ahmad Khalid. Okay, Ahmad Khalid is here. Abdullah is here. See, Abdullah, now I didn't call your name at all. Latifa. Latifa Ahmad. Fatma Abdali is here. Zainab Abdul Al. Ala Salman. Ala Salman. Okay, people from section 1, you need to wait. Isra Abdul Karim. Ali Abdul Razak. Elizabeth Ann. Ali Makki is here. Ibrahim Muhammad Qadir. Okay, I'm calling out the absentees. Majd Bashar. Nujul Salah. Ali Muhammad. That's it. Okay, so I'm going for section 1 now. Okay, who is from section 1? Ahmad Majid
Yes,
and
Doctor.
Aisha
Ahmed
Muhammad.
Majid.
Okay, okay. Aisha Muhammad is here, Ahmad Majid is here, and I think Ahmad Amin is here, right?
Doctor, also me, hello.
Okay. Who?
Also me, Dr. Khalid.
Who is this?
Khalid Qasim.
Khalid Qasim. Okay, done. Aisha Ahmad Amin, Khalid Qasim, Al Hanouf, and I don't know. What?
Doctor, me as well, Donna Isa.
Who? Aisha, yeah, done. Okay, so we are done. Okay, so see you tomorrow, inshallah. Abdullah Jaliluddin, I didn't mark you.